What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and as I'm going to be showing you how to calculate the beta of a stock using Microsoft Excel. And it's super easy to do. It's just a little tricky, and this is one of those things you have to do in college. Obviously, there's a formula on how to do this. It looks something like this, and because we're finance people, so we're going to be using Microsoft Excel because it makes everything a lot easier. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that, but I think before we get started, we have to define what beta is. So beta essentially measures the volatility of a stock, and to define what volatility is, it's going to be how often the stock moves up and down, right? So if you look at a stock like Tesla, which moves up and down very often, and it jumps in huge percentages, so that is very volatile. And you can compare that to a stock like Coca-Cola, which is way less volatile when compared to something like Tesla. So we have two sides of beta here, right? So stocks that are really volatile have a high beta, and stocks that are less volatile have a low beta. So how do you know which beta is high and which one is low? In order to decide this, you have to know that the market has a beta of 1, right? So that's how volatile the market is. It has a beta of 1. So anything below 1 is less volatile than the market. And when I say the market, we're talking about the entire stock market, right? And this can be measured using the S&P 500. It is identical to the market. The returns are almost the same. So we just use the S&P 500 to describe the market, right? So any stock that has a beta that's higher than 1 is more volatile than the market. And any stock that has a beta that's less than 1 is less volatile than the market. So that's pretty much it when it comes to defining, beta, and trying to really understand what it is and what it measures and how it does that. So now I'm going to be showing you how to calculate that in Microsoft Excel. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to the computer. All right, so as you can see, I'm on Yahoo Finance because we're going to be using this website to get our data. So I'm going to be doing this for the company Ford. So let's go ahead and there you go. This is F right here. It's a trending company, so it should be interesting. All right, so once you have the company pulled up, you're going to go ahead and go to historical data and give it a second. All right, so once you're here, you're going to go ahead and, change some settings here. So you want to change the frequency from daily to weekly because daily has a lot of noise. There's so much data that's going on. So we're going to go ahead and change this to weekly. If you want, you can do daily, but I recommend weekly. You can do monthly if you'd like, but weekly is going to be perfect. All right, so once you do that, we're going to go ahead and go to the time period, and we're going to change this to 5 years. It'll be 2016, I believe, and I'm going to change the end date to the end of December of 2020. As you can see, our time is from January 1st of 2016 to December 31st of 2020. I believe that is 5 years. So once you have that, you're just going to go ahead and click apply. And there we go. So now we have our data. We're just going to go ahead and download this. And this is going to download in Microsoft Excel file. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I'm going to give it a second here to load. There we go. So now we have our data. So we're not done yet. We're going to go ahead and grab some more data. So we're going to grab the S&P 500 data because that is what we're going to use to measure the market, right? So we need to compare the returns on Ford to the S&P 500, which is essentially the market. So I'm going to go ahead and click on S&P 500 here. If you don't have it here, just look it up. You can type it in on here. It'll pop up. Oh, so once you have it, go to historical data. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to change the frequency to weekly, and we're also going to change the time period for the beginning, we're going to go back to 2016 here, and we'll do December 31st. All right, and then go ahead and click done. And once you have that, go ahead and click apply, and you're going to go ahead and download your data. So now we have this. We're going to go ahead and open this up as well. All right, so now we have the two sets of data. So I'm going to go ahead and open a different Excel file. So I'm going to do Control N. This is going to open a separate file. This is where we're going to paste the data that we want. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and grab the data for Ford. So all the stuff in the middle here, we're going to delete this. Delete. So we just need the date and the adjusted close price, right? So you can delete the volume as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to paste it on our new file here. So let's go. So there you go. Now we have this. Now we have the data for Ford. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I don't need this anymore. It'll probably be safer to save it just in case you mess anything up and you need to reuse the data. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the S&P 500 here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and delete this right here, and also delete the volume. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the same data here. So Control C. And I'm going to go ahead and add the data on here. All right. You can add a space if you want, just so you can differentiate between the two. Sometimes when you paste as values, that means if you click this, this number here, it's gonna have this format of the date. You probably don't want this, so you can click on this and you can go to short date. As you can see, we have our actual date. So you don't really need the date on here, since it's pretty much gonna be the same dates as the forward dates, right? We have the same time range, we have the same frequency. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete the date here. We don't need this. So we just keep the closing price. It is really easy to get confused between these two numbers, since you have, you don't have any titles that differentiate the prices. So I'm going to go ahead and make the titles a lot more descriptive. So for this one, I'll just put F for forward, and I'll put a dash on here. And for this, I'll put the S&P 500 like that. All right, so now we have, like titles, so we're not going to get confused with this. All right, so we have our data here. And let me go ahead and make this a little smaller, and I'll just highlight this so I know this is the titles. All right, so to quickly describe what these numbers are, so if you're looking at Ford here, this is gonna be the closing price for this day, right? So on January 1st, 2016, the Ford stock closed at $9.06, right? Approximately. And on the 8th, it closed at $9.02. So that's what these mean. These are weekly closing prices, right? So in order to get the return on these two, we're going to go ahead and go right here. We're going to do equal sign. We're going to go ahead and grab the first price. We're going to go ahead and divide that by the second price, right here. And we're going to go ahead and close parenthesis, and we're going to subtract 1. All right, there you go. So that is the return on that. All right, so to make this simple, you can actually drag the formula like this, and it's going to apply to the S&P 500. So as you can see, this is actually applying to this line that we have in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this actually, or delete. All right, so there you go. Now we're going to go ahead and redo this. Let's go delete that. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. So like that. There you go. So now we have the return on this S&P 500, which is pretty much the same formula as what we use here. Now we can actually drag this down. So we can go ahead and drag this down. So you want to exclude the last line, since this is not going to have anything to divide by. So if you were to go all the way down here, you're going to see that you're not going to get a number on the bottom here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. So I'm just going to go ahead and label this F. I'll label that S&P. The labels look a little messed up, but that's fine, because that's not what matters. So now that you have your data, we're actually going to go ahead and calculate the beta. So there's two ways to calculate beta. So the first one is going to be by using the slope formula. So let's go right here. We're going to do the beta right here. So let's just go ahead and label this beta. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and do equal sign, and we're going to type in slope, and we're going to open parenthesis like that. So for the y-axis, which is going to be the first entry here, we're going to go ahead and click right here, and we're going to select all of this here, right? This is going to select the forward returns. So once you have everything selected, click comma, and we're going to go all the way up here. Let's go back up here so we see our formula. So for the second part, which is going to be the x-axis, you're going to go ahead and select the returns on the S&P 500 or the market. So do the same thing. Select it, you're going to close the parenthesis and then click enter. So now we have that. So that is how you calculate beta. All right, so a second way to do this is going to be by using a data analysis feature that Microsoft Excel has. And if you do not have that like me, all right, so you're going to go to file, and you're going to go to options, and this is going to pop up. So you want to go all the way down to add the ends, and you want to go to analysis tool pack here, right? So we have the analysis tool pack. Make sure that's selected, and you're going to go on the bottom here. Make sure this shows Excel add ends. There's a lot of options here. So I'm going to go ahead and click go. There you go. So now we have analysis tool pack, analysis tool pack VBA. So I believe you'd have to I believe it is going to be these three, or just the analysis tool pack, but I'm just going to download all of them just in case I need all of those. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So I'm going to give it a second here. It's loading. All right. So once you have this loaded, you're going to see that the data analysis is going to be on the far right of the data tab, right? So I'm going to click on data analysis. All right. So once we have this, we're going to go ahead and try to find regression on here. I believe it's low. So right here, regression, click OK. All right, so this little table is going to pop up. So once you have this table, you're going to do the same thing. It does the same thing as the formula. It's going to ask for the y-axis range and the x-axis range, which is pretty much the same thing we did with the formula. So if you remember, our Ford stock was our y-axis range, and then the x-axis range was the market, which is the S&P 500 in this example. So we're going to go ahead, and for this, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. We're going to go ahead and grab this right here. Select this all the way down, and then go to the X input range. Let's scroll all the way up, and I want to select all the data in the S&P 500. So you don't need to select anything else on here, and I recommend putting this on the new worksheet, but I'll put it on here so you guys can see. So we're gonna put on the select a new output range. Let me scroll up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's see here. I'm gonna put it. I want to put it next to this right here. So I'm gonna put it right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click enter. So you don't have to select anything else on here. Just go ahead and click OK. There you go. So now we have our table here. All right, so let's go ahead and make this a little bigger so you can see the titles here, right? So this looks a little confusing. There's a lot of information on here, but the only thing you need to focus on is going to be the X variable one right here. This is going to be our beta. So let me highlight this so it's a lot more visible. Let me go, might give this yellow. And as you can see, it is pretty much the same beta that we had using the formula, and it's going to be the same beta that we have using the regression analysis. So just to double check so you guys see that this is actually correct, we're going to go to Yahoo Finance, and we're going to look for Ford. So Ford is pretty much right here. So if you look on Yahoo Finance, they actually have the beta on here, and you're going to see that the beta is 1.2. We're going to go back to our regression here. So the first one gave us 1.2, which is essentially 1.20. But if you look on here, it tells you how they did their regression, how they came up with this beta. So they used the 5-year time frame, but they were using the frequency of monthly data, right? So monthly adjusted closing prices. So since the market has a beta of 1 and Ford has a beta of 1.2, it is not too volatile, but it is more volatile than the market. So that's kind of like a conclusion that you can come up with. That is pretty much it when it comes to calculating the beta of a stock using Microsoft Excel. Like I showed you, you can essentially just look it up on Yahoo Finance, but using Microsoft Excel is essentially going to teach you how they actually come up with that beta and where the numbers come from. So that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if you guys have any video suggestions. Make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.